It's an impressive feat to lead the championship by over 20 points after only 3 rounds, but Mick Claridge is taking no chances with his championship run this season. However, one has to wonder how long he can hold out with consistency being so much more important with a new point system. The slippery surface of Okayama certainly presents an open chance for mistakes to cost anyone. We'll see who comes out clean as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 49 World Cup. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Johan, this is another of the free circuits on iRacing, so I expect the drivers to know this place inside and out, but for the viewers, what's this track about?
Yeah, today we visit Okayama International Circuit, previously known as TI Circuit Ida, and that's one of the youngest circuits on iRacing. The circuit was built less than 30 years ago in 1990 and was primarily a track intended as a private racetrack for the wealthy Japanese. It rose to international fame, however, in 1994 and 95 when it hosted the Formula 1 Pacific Grand Prix. A funny fact about the track is that the official lap record is still from the 1994 race. Michael Schumacher clocked the circuit in 1 minute and 14 seconds. As you mentioned, Joe, most people on iRacing have raced this 3.7 km track numerous times in their Road Rookie series. It's categorized by a very slippery track surface, which causes the car to slide way more than the drivers are used to on other tracks. Okayama circuit has officially 11 turns, but drivers might not consider all these corners real corners in other cars. Take turn 3 for example, the Moss S. It feels more like a kink in a straight. However, in these Lotus 49s, any not so straight will cause the cars to oversteer where you might not expect it. Combine this with the aforementioned icy track surface and several low-speed corners, where traction is very important, Okayama will be a track where the right foot really has to shine to perfect a lap. But in a race where 22 laps have to be completed, even the best drivers are likely to make at least one mistake out there. So how does the perfect lap look like? To answer that question, let's hop on board our GSRC Lotus 49 driven by Benjamin Soko as he takes us for a lap around Okayama.
Alright, we've got Ben Zoko in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Okayama. Coming down into turn 1, this is going to be one of your best opportunities for a pass. Just be sure not to turn in too early to this corner, because on the exit, you won't have much time to get back across for Williams. It's just a quick squirt on the power, and then you're threading the needle through this off-camber left-hander. It'll take a gentle right foot to find the throttle again and avoid looping it. But the Moss S won't allow you to take it flat out all the way up to Atwood. That makes it surprisingly tough to execute a pass into here, even though it's a hairpin. But much like the last corner, you'll be feathering your way onto the gas all the way up the hill. The opening radius of the exit makes it especially precarious. Those who can feel out the grip and find a better launch will be in a much better position to defend or attack into the hairpin. Other than the front stretch, this is the next most common place for overtakes to happen. If you're defending, consider the banking on the outside though. Keep alongside your opponent, you've got the inside for revolver. That is a very tricky corner to go side by side through, trust me. Then, as you plunge downhill, you swing it through Piper. The pit buildings leave very little room to the outside for runoff, so try your best not to get it out into the grass. From there, you've got a little blast into Redmond. This kicks off the painfully slow back and forth into Hobbs. It's very tough to gain time here, but it's oh so easy to lose a bunch if you botch one of these. The low gears means it's best not to mash the throttle too hard on your way out. You'll need a bit of brake into Mike Knight, let the car drift out, and then set yourself up for this last corner. Obviously, a good run is going to be critical because of this leading up to the first turn, but hopefully you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Okayama. Give you an idea of just how slippery it is out there and the lack of grip experienced. So with that, let's take a look at the points championship, starting with the F1 championship. This is the big guys that are competing. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Claridge leading by 21 points. Now, interestingly, it's over Matt Wood, who's come over from the Lotus 79 series. He has had a good showing. He's also leading the combined championship between the 79 and the 49 that they're running this season, where they're combining the points of each of their official championships. Wood has been having the best results thus far. Dunignon, but I believe he missed last round or had a really bad showing in one of the first 3, which is why he is so far back. But he's looking good today with good pace. And then you can see Morrison and Zoko round out our top 5 in a close fight for 4th. We have the F2 Championship, sort of the AM drivers. Johan, what are we looking at there?
Yeah, on top in that championship is Andrew Eng, currently leading by 29 points. He overtook last race Eugenio Massa and Don Good, who are currently sharing 26 points for P2 in the championship. A little bit further behind, Barry West is currently 4th with 15 points and shares the position with Gary Anderson, Joe.
A very tight fight down at the bottom. Those guys have all to try and battle for out on the track. Now, what about those people who have never watched one of these races here in the Lotus 49? Let's give you a rundown of what you can expect today. We are on round 4 out of 12 because this is official racing, always 12 rounds in a season. Now, they do get 2 drop weeks, however, this time. So they can afford a few mistakes. We'll start incorporating those a little bit farther down the line, and that'll close things up some. Today's race is by laps, 22 of them that they'll have to run out there. It is open setup, and they are going to have to try and do their best to try and get the car hooked up out there, but the drivers tend to share these a lot. Now, there is one more championship to deal with, Johan. There is, of course, the Nations Cup that these drivers are fighting for, too.
Yeah, exactly. Every driver from their respective country will score points for their country, but it's only the top driver. So the top driver of the Lotus 49 Championship, Mick Claridge, of course, he's leading with the United Kingdom, 110 points in front. And behind them, Finland is doing quite well, 90 points so far. And they're leading France in the podium. France currently third, dropping 2 places last time around. The United States and Australia are not that far behind France, though. Will surely try an assault to get more places on Michael Dudillon in France.
Now that we've gone through all of that, we have a chance to take a look at how qualifying is going. Dudillon leading the way. No surprise there, as he was looking very good in the warm-up over Mick Claridge. And actually has, I believe, a whole 10th. No, actually, well, now it's a whole 10th. Before it was less than a 10th, but Dudillon just finished his 2nd lap and has bumped his time down further. Claridge, however, does not and stays at 1:29.1. Now, how about a driver we're glad to see back up towards the front? Ove Trangerade gets himself into 3rd, Johan.
Yeah, Ove Trangerade is extremely close, though, as you can see by the times, less than 2 tenths behind Michael Dudillon. Now, behind him, behind Ove Trangerade, there's a slightly bigger gap. Michael Engelage is around 6 tenths slower. So, Joe, that's quite a big gap between the top 3 drivers and the rest of the field. So that's not something we've seen that much before in other races, so certainly not in practice earlier today.
Checking to see if anybody else is trying to set their 2nd lap, and I think, yeah, everybody has set their time. So our qualifying has actually completed. And this will be our starting order. Going to the pole, Michel Dudillon, as we said, is looking like he's going to have the best opportunity lately to try and regain the ground that he's lost in this championship early on. However, he has to get through the race to take care of it. Mick Claridge will start on the outside of that front row. Ove Trangerade will begin in 3rd with P4 going to Michael Engelage. Glad to have him back once again. Tommy Unhola starts in 5th, and then Billy Bob Wright will begin the race in 6th position. Matt Wood, not the best of qualifying for him considering the pace that he's put on in the races lately. He'll start 7th, and Ben Zocco, our lap guide runner, will be 8th today at the start. Michael Morrison will run the Violet machine in 9th, and Matt Wright will start off in 10th.
Yeah, and 11th is Richard Morin. He is leading Hideki Koivisto on row 6. Neil Kemp slots in P13, starting the race there in front of Barry West. Eugenio Massa, one of the top contenders previously in the championship, in the Formula 2 Championship, starts the race in 15th in front of Gary Anderson. Now, Robert Reynolds and Simone Pancri haven't set the lap time yet. Simone Pancri is in the session, Robert Reynolds is not. So might be that we don't see him out on track though. But they're currently in P17 and P18.
So we're looking at a pretty decent field out here for today's race. Just a few moments left before we go racing for 22 laps here in round 4 of the Lotus 49 World Cup. Thanks for joining us this early morning if you're over in the States, or afternoon way over in Europe where Johan is hailing from. Now, we've got a few good places to pass around here. And the drivers were saying before the race, Johan, that they expect some good racing out there. But where do you most commonly see them trying to make an overtake?
I mean, probably the best overtaking maneuver is the end of the long back straight. That's the longest run that you'll have to gain on another driver and try to move. But one thing that you said, and one thing that the drivers were saying, is that the track is very slippery. We mentioned that before during the race. And also with these cars that are notoriously hard to drive, especially compared to other cars in the surface, you'll probably see a lot of drivers making small errors, not necessarily losing the car, but just having a little bit of oversteer when they go on throttle, or maybe outbraking themselves slightly. And that will create a lot of opportunities for other drivers to really pounce on those mistakes of their rivals. So I think that you have a few overtaking spots that are more probable than other ones, but you might see overtaking in basically every corner, as drivers will really try to make the best and make the most of the mistakes of their rivals.
It's all about who finishes first. It's not about being fast over a single lap. We'll see if that plays in the hands of Michel Dudagnan, or if someone else could maybe take advantage as we take a glance through the field at some of the paint schemes, the liveries that you're going to see out there. A lot of drivers running a little bit more traditional schemes here in this retro series, this vintage car series of the 3 different ones that they have here on the iRacing service. Lights are up, waiting as the cars start to rev here in round 4. Green flag is out, and as they get off the line, a good start for Dudagnan. Not great of one for Claridge. Oh, but he finds the grip in the second half of the start as he starts to gain, but it's a short run down to turn 1. The cars start to siphon out. Very orderly start cutting through this first corner.
Yeah, very clean start. I looked a little bit further down the field, but everybody seems to just stay next to each other. Really clean start. I think that everyone made it through turn 1 cleanly there, Joe.
A little bit trickier to go side by side through the Moss S as now they break through Atwood. Still everybody through there nice and tidy, but it's a battle up front as, a big bobble there for Ove Trangerade coming off of Atwood corner. Costs him an opportunity at Mick Claridge in second. They woe it up down into the hairpin. Claridge looking around the outside as he's very close to our leader, Dudagnan. A little bit of a pass between Zoko and Matt Wood there that I'm seeing as Wood gets to the inside coming through Revolver. And unfortunately, Zoko has to give up the ghost.
Yeah, good move there, but Mick Claridge is really putting the pressure on Michel Dudagnan. Now, we have looked a little bit at the practice times, and Mick Claridge wasn't quicker than Dudagnan there. Dudagnan was around 3/4 per lap quicker there. So I think, Joe, if Dudagnan stays in front, he'll be able to create a gap to his main rival. So if Mick Claridge really wants to go for the victory today, now is the best time to make that much overtake maneuver for P1.
Certainly looking more in his mirrors that he is ahead, because he's dropping back from the Frenchman, and behind him, Trangerade putting the pressure on. The gap down to 2/10. Oh, but look at how late onto the brakes. He has a big mistake from Mick Claridge, and that causes Ove Trangerade to have to take evasive action. Here comes the car of Engelage, trying around the outside. Over, under, as way offline. Ove Trangerade struggles, and he loses 2 spots, as now Unhola moves into 4th.
A really big shame of Ove Trangerade there. Good avoidance maneuver, like you said, Joe, but yeah, avoiding that car of Mick Claridge lost him a lot of positions, as now he's also under pressure of Billy Bob Wright, who got initially a better run out of the hairpin there, but Ove Trangerade took the wider line and a little bit better traction. Now, he was passed by Tommy Unhola. Tommy Unhola is having a great race, P5 in the championship so far, and with P4 in the race, he's really looking up in the championship battle there, Joe.
Behind them, the battle rages on between Zoko and Wood. Zoko got to the inside through the hairpin, but this is something I've noticed in every car in this series. Wood held around the outside, and then he took it back in Revolver.
Oh, Wood really close there to his rival, had really to slam on the brakes, and then gives Ben Zoko another opportunity to try it side by side there. Now he's on the outside now. He might have a better run. He doesn't get enough of a space there of a long straight to try it.
Billy Bob Wright might have to go back with a rag and buff the exhaust pipes on that car. He got so close. I thought he was going to make contact. And Matt Wood still under threat as they come up the front stretch. We ride on board with the Australian. He looks to the inside, down into turn 1 once again, but gets denied as the door is slammed by Wood. through Williams once again. Go ahead.
Now, Matt Wood really keeping the door closed so far. I'll be curious to see, because we talked about this before. Matt Wood is currently second in the championship. I would expect him a little bit further up the field. He's currently still in seventh, the position where he qualified. For his championship aspirations, I certainly hope that he'll be able to put the pressure on Billy Bob soon for P6. Because he really has to make some moves if Mick Claridge is P2 and Michel Dudillon is in first.
It'll certainly help them gain, as doesn't get a chance this time, though he had a good run down the backstretch towards the hairpin. Even though he's not far up right now, I'd say Matt Wood is very feisty at the moment here in the early laps, only on lap 3, and he gets a fantastic run coming out of Piper. As Billy Bob struggles, he lets that one go. Thinks better of trying to fight so early.
Yeah, this is literally what we said on top of the broadcast. Billy Bob there went a little bit wide through Piper Corner. Had lack of traction, and Matt Wood just made the most of that. He had a way better room and could get side by side there. While Ove Trengere just in front is putting all the pressure on Tommy and Hola going through the last corner. Tommy and Hola struggling to put the power down, but it doesn't seem like Ove Trengere has enough space to try it side by side there. He's not gonna try a do or dive bump there. Stays behind for now.
Looks around the outside as he got a good run out of the first quarter, but it's so tough to pass into Williams. He slots back into line. The Norwegian, ever since he lost that position, has not been able to do much to get himself back up, as Engelage has actually left Unhola and Trengere in the dust for now, as a big slide into Atwood costs the Norwegian once again.
Yeah, and that opens the move for Matt Wood behind it. Matt Wood had a way better exit out of that hairpin corner. He's a lot closer to the Norwegian driver, but not close enough to try and move there at the end of the straight.
Oh, a move behind them as, oh, contact! Ben Zoko gets into the side of Billy Bob Wright, but at least thankfully for Billy Bob Wright, it's Zoko who comes off the worst of it.
Yeah, I can understand what Benjamin Zoko did as we go into a replay. He just had to try and move there. But it seems like he maybe got onto the brakes a little bit too late. Had to lock those brakes up to avoid his rival as much as he could. Luckily, as you said, Joe, no damage for Billy Bob, it seems. Benjamin Zoko fell back to P11.
Oof, that hurts for him after starting a lot better in this race, qualifying in 8th. Billy Bob Wright fending off all comers, well, except for Matt Wood, we should say, who's managed to overtake him. Wood still sizing his way up to the back of Ove Trengere, who's working on the fin of Tommy Unhola. Very similar to last time, just can't seem to do anything with turn 1. Down through the Moss S, they all weave their way through, feathering the throttle and then getting onto the brakes into this hairpin. Struggling as they come. Oh, and a big mistake for Wood coming through Atwood. We saw it just on the corner of the screen as he went way wide into that right-hander.
Absolutely, went way too hot in that corner. Now, Billy Bob was not close enough to pounce that. But I wanted to say Tommy, Ovi, and Matt are really creating a very exciting battle for P4 there. Matt Wood losing a little bit of momentum, but look at how quickly he catches up to the back of the Norwegian driver. I think that Tommy Unhola is keeping his car very wide, but is also a little bit slower than his main rivals behind him.
Oh, and Claridge is getting overtaken by Engelage around the outside. And I think he's got it. Let's look at the replay. Big mistake possibly, because he's very close to Dudillon.
Mick Claridge had an off-track, I think it a slowdown penalty. Yeah, cut corner penalty, so he had to slow down a little bit, and that caused Michael Engelage to pass him.
He tried to cover off the inside as he pulled off the racing line. As we come back live, he takes a peek down into 1. Not close enough there.
And this is...
Go ahead.
This is perfect for Dudillon. Dudillon has a 3-second gap now to his main rivals. And yeah, it's really liking that gap so far to Michael Engelage, because Mick Claridge was keeping the pressure on him. But yeah, like this, he can really walk away with it.
You and I. Whoa!
Ooh, Engelage got a little tap there from behind by Mick Claridge. Engelage went a little bit loose into the corner as we go to a replay of that. Went a little bit loose in the corner, probably lost a little bit too much speed, more speed than Mick Claridge anticipated. that caused the cars to hit each other very slightly, Joe.
Yeah, big slide on entry for the #1 machine. They both gather it back together, and Nick Claridge is on it once again as we see them come through Piper down towards Hobbs. Just behind them, you can see the battle is incredibly close between Unhola and Trangrade as well. Nothing happening between them as they break for Hobbs as we follow this battle for P3. You and I were thinking the exact same thing. This is perfect for the Frenchman, who is so far back in the points. Now, this is not going to get him right back up on top or allow him to overtake in the championship Nick Claridge, but it will certainly be significant as it at least gets him back in the hunt.
Exactly, he'll be able to put more pressure on Nick Claridge in the championship battle. Not only that, I think that he actually might be able to pass Matt Wood for P2 in the championship. Matt Wood, who's currently still in P6, as we see Tommy Unhola now being passed, it seems like, over Trangrade.
Oh, maybe not. Around the outside of Williams is a tough ask. Are they going to go try side by side through the Moss S? They're going to give it a go, and Hola getting all kinds of loose, and this brings the car of Matt Wood up behind them in the popcorn position. Still nobody is giving way as they work their way around Atwood Corner. It's going to be a drag race down the backstretch to the inside. Trangrade is starting to lose ground. Can he outbrake him into the hairpin? All three of them close together. Matt Wood boxed in, has nowhere to go. It's going to switch back in a revolver once again. Trangrade trying to pull it off. Oh, he gets tipped into it. They come together. All three cars make contact, and the driver who comes out the best is Billy Bob Wright.
Oh, no. We're going to a replay of it now. It seems like Tommy Unhola just went a little bit wide as they're going through the hairpin now. And look at the red and yellow car of Tommy Unhola there. He just goes a little bit too wide after the apex. Just slides into over Trangrade. That sends all three around. We'll do a little replay of Billy Bob's view of the incident.
Not often you see this many cars this far into the race, this close together. And when you fight that hard with one another, well, as they found out, no more monkeys jumping on the bed.
Matt Wood is currently in the pits trying to repair his car. Tommy Unhola and let's see, Ovi Trangrade. Where's Ovi? Ovi and Tommy are both still on track though.
Well down the order, Ove's down in 8th, and Tommy is
13th.
Ooh, yeah, that hurts.
And we were talking before that Tommy was doing such a great job in the championship battle P5, and he was really looking up with the position he was driving in. This will certainly hurt his chances and give opportunity to Benjamin Soko to extend the gap even further and Billy Bob to overtake him.
I think Ove's struggling too because he is under attack from Richard Morin down into the hairpin. Morin backs out of it, not as strong on the brakes as the Scandinavian, so he'll stay safe for now. But yeah, this will close up the combined championship quite a bit with Matt Wood still sitting in waiting for repairs. You have to wonder how damaged the car is. Trangrade's as well as Tommy Unhola with him being so far back and not making quick progress forward.
And it's not a difficult or not an easy track to overtake, we saw before, as we are currently looking at the battle between Michael Engelaars and Mick Claridge there. Michael Engelaars has not been overtaken so far by Mick Claridge. Mick Claridge, who had that little error where he had a cut course penalty and had to give back a few seconds because of that. But even though he's quicker than his rival, he's not able to pass him yet, Joe.
He had a huge mistake coming out of the final quarter, losing grip under acceleration. That's going to be the biggest key to trying to make those overtakes today, is getting the power down, coming off the bend. Is he going to take a peek down into Atwood? Yes, he is. Sticks his nose in. He's given room at the apex. But if Michael can get the power down better than he can, and he does, he'll fend him off for now. And look at Mick still wiggling back and forth as he tries to get the car up the hill.
Yeah, in that exit of that first hairpin at the beginning of that long straight, I really think it's better to maybe stay on the outside. You can carry a little bit more momentum, and because the straight is quite long, that momentum will really stay, make sure that you stay in front of your rival. And you saw there where Mick Claridge just had to give in a little bit more, feather the throttle a little bit more, and he was not able to put his car side by side.
As we ride on board with Mick now. Really see him working that wheel, how much they have to saw back and forth in these cars. Very little times that you can be completely smooth, although the best drivers are. And Michael Angelage just putting on a great performance almost halfway through this race now, and for a number of laps has fended off one of the fastest drivers in the series. That orange machine should be proud.
Yeah, he's doing a superb job out there. Now, another battle that we haven't talked about yet is for P9. Is Richard Mooring being under heavy pressure of Neil Kemp. Neil Kemp having a great exit out of the last corner. But he breaks a little bit earlier down on the main straight. Doesn't want to put it side by side yet with Richard Mooring. But if Neil can keep that pace up, Joe, I think that he'll be battling for that P9 spot very soon.
Neil's been having a decent run today. Started at 13th and is looking at 9th. This driver coming from California is up very early this morning, as it's still not even 7 o'clock out there on the West Coast. Ooh, and some flashing happening from Morin, which is going to help Neil.
Yeah, Richard Morin is still there on track, but the Canadian driver seems like he's struggling a little bit with connection issues out there. That's not something that you want to see if you're having a close battle like Neil Kemp. You don't want that rival to flash away. That not only takes you out of your concentration, but you never know when he returns. I think Neil Beck cut the corner there a little bit. It seems like he did at least. Yeah, and
we'll find out here.
Yeah, he has to give space here. Look at him falling back. I think Neil had a cut corner penalty there and is now slowly giving that back. And that opens maybe an opportunity for Hideki Kofisto, who's currently in P11, to try and move from Kemp, Joe.
The Finn has closed in, but we saw that the pace had stretched him away. Oh, and the battle for second as down to the inside into turn 1, giving just enough room at the apex. Mick Claridge has the advantage coming off the corner, but he's on the outside. Coming into Williams, he carries the speed in that off-camber left-hander. Is it going to get him for him? We saw this before with the other cars, and it didn't end well side by side through the Moss S. Now he gets it done.
Well done there. Pure commitment of Mick Claridge. Really well done. Michel Engelhardt tried to stay next to him as long as he could, but in the end just had to give in. He doesn't get a good enough exit out of that hairpin corner to try and make the move back on Mick Claridge. So I think Mick Claridge with a 6.5 second gap, well, 7 second gap to Michel Dudion at the moment will look forward and try to close that as soon as possible with only 11 laps to go.
All that frustration for the Brit bubbling over into an aggressive but clean move to get himself back into second. But as Johan mentioned, the damage has been done with that huge gap now up to the Frenchman, who is scampering away. But doesn't matter how much you lose by, because the points gap still remains the same between first and second. I believe it's only going to be a 5-point gain there for Michel if they finish in this position.
Now, talking about the number 5, P5 at the moment, Michael Morrison is having a quiet race. We haven't talked a lot about him so far, but he's around 1 second behind Billy Bob, gaining a little bit one lap, losing a little bit the next lap, having a good run so far. He's several seconds, 4 seconds give or take in front of Benjamin Soko, so he's not feeling the pressure a lot from the Australian driver, but Michael Morrison having a solid drive out there at P5 at the moment.
And the Egyptian Buckeye back again with his violet machine. Just kind of keeping Billy Bob right under pressure for now, keeping him honest and not allowing him to make any sorts of mistakes. We've already seen a couple big drivers have those today. So we've now passed the halfway point. Drivers spreading apart a little bit out on track as they sort themselves out from the initial dramas. So why don't we take the opportunity to run through the field? I'll start with the top 5 here up at the front. Dealing with a little bit of traffic now. Might hold them up, but won't be too bad. Here at the top, Michel Dudignon has been leading since the drop of the green as he overtakes Robert Reynolds at the back of the field. Last car running right now. Mick Claridge is currently in second. Having had a slowdown penalty, he lost second place, got himself into third, and took a number of laps to try and regain that P2. But he's there now over the car he took it from. That is Michael Engelage running in that orange number 1, who currently is doing a fantastic race here, coming back, one of the known fast drivers in this series who took a little bit of a break, but has returned. He's leading 4th place. Billy Bob Wright, we mentioned him not too long ago, who has gained a number of positions, 3 positions, in fact, to get himself up into this 3rd spot. He started in 6th, but a little bit of luck has swung his way. He's got a small gap back to Michael Morrison, running within the top 5. He started in 9th as well. He inherited some of those positions from that drama we saw between the 3 cars coming together. What's the next 5 in the top 10 looking like, Johan?
And the next driver is Benjamin Soko, the Australian driver, currently around 5 seconds behind Michael Morrison. Made up 2 places so far, sitting in P6. Now he's around 3 seconds in front of Matt Wright. Matt Wright is one of the hard chargers, making up 3 places from P10, currently in 7th place. Ovi Trangerate is currently in P8. He's closing the gap to Matt, I would say. A few tenths maybe. Last lap not so much, but it seems like he's closing the gap little bit by little bit. And it might be able that he's gonna try to get that P7 position from Matt Wright soon. He's just in front of Richard Morin. Richard Morin is currently in P9 and he's having a hard battle, as you can see right behind him. Neil Kemp, who had that cut course penalty, lost a little bit of time, but he's right on the rear of Richard Morin again. He's really gonna try and make that move from P9 soon.
This is the best place to stop of any because it is the closest battle on track. Now, we understand that Morin might have an interesting racing suit. I didn't quite catch it on the camera. He's going to have very close. We're going to see if we can get a good look at it. Oh, he's all dressed up and ready to go.
Like a real gentleman driver from that back then. Really
absolutely. And a little bit of a mistake coming out of the first quarter is not going to give a chance into Williams for Neil Kemp, but he gets right up under that gearbox. Does the California driver. Doesn't make an attempt down into Atwood. Oh, but a big mistake from Richard Morin is going to hand it over. And we kept talking about that. It's all about waiting patiently to see if the driver has an uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. But that's also really one of the difficult things, I would imagine, at a track like this. Like, you have to wait because you know that the other drivers will make mistakes and you can capitalize on that. But on the other hand, take Neil Kemp, for example. He had to wait 6-7 laps before the mistake finally happened. So to find that balance between being patient and trying to make a move and maybe even force an error on your opponents, that's really difficult. But Neil Kemp waited long enough and is now currently in P9.
Big question is, can he stretch away now that he's gotten past him? It's one thing to get ahead, but you've got to have the pace to try and take advantage and get away.
Exactly. Well, 2 other drivers that we haven't talked a lot about at the moment that are in sort of a battle is for P14, Eugenio Massa and Gary Anderson. They're currently in P14 and P15. Eugenio around 1 second in front of them. They have been quite a race so far, but Gary Anderson is moving closer and closer to the back of the Italian driver. And that's actually an exciting battle for the Formula 2 championship, where Eugenio is currently 2nd. And I think Gary Anderson is also near the top of the championship. So might be a little bit down the order, but exciting battle nonetheless.
Let's stay with this number 16 and number 14. On screen before we jumped over to this, just an update. What you might have thought was a pass, that's actually Robert Reynolds, who was being lapped by the car of Ove Trangerade and Matt Wright. Those 2 have separated, so we really don't need to go back there. This Love in the back of the field, you mentioned, running that F2 championship. Massa, not as high as we've seen in some of the previous races, especially... and second place switched back. When did Michael Angelage get by? It was the exact same thing, Johan.
Yeah, McLaren was a little bit naughty there, and it looks like he had another cut course penalty in exactly the same position. Just enough of a cut course penalty there to have to let Michael Angelage by, and then be able to go on the power again.
Let's see, was it... must have been a little bit earlier than what we're watching, so it wasn't at Revolver this time. I was about to say, if it was at Revolver, someone needs, or Mick needs to go after the race and find a little flag and stick it in the ground on that corner, tell them where exactly the apex is. So back to where he was before, has to make the pass all over again. You can see every time at Atwood, the Brit is so confident at the apex, but loses ground trying to climb up the hill. He's going to be within the slipstream down the backstretch.
Yeah, he's having a great run so far, but he's not going to put it side by side down there in the hairpin. And one thing I was thinking about, as Engelhuis is outbraking himself a little bit, it causes mid-Claridge to also lock up a bit, not able to swing his car past. The one thing I was thinking about, Joe, is like, this is a bit of a deja vu of 10 laps ago when these cars were battling side by side now. So that might actually help Michael Engelhuis a little bit, because he has looked at mid-Claridge in his rearview mirrors for quite a while, so he probably knows which positions Claridge is quicker and which places he's not as good. So that might actually help his defense for that P2 position out there.
Yeah, easy the first time around, but not quite as the second time, especially when it's closer to the end, when drivers are going to be fighting much harder as we watch this on screen. Oh, he's got a run on him down towards the first corner, and Engelhuis knows it. He goes defensive, but not all the way to the inside as Mick sticks his nose in. He did it this way last time, and he gets into him.
Claridge just went over the curb too much there, and I think Engelhuis' car, Engelhuis is crabbing. Engelhuis' race is over out there.
Mick tries to give the spot back, but Engelhuis, as we'll see in the replay, will have to pull off just a little bit too hot, and the car tracks out. Now, it was, in Mick's defense, he was very tight down to the inside, but the way that Mick's car, the trajectory looked, I think he probably would have slid into him regardless. Yeah,
it's a heartbreak for Engelhuis there, who was having a great run so far in P2. But I think you're absolutely right there, Joe. Like, Claridge just had a little bit too of an acute angle and hit the curb, slid up the track, and just, after that, there was history.
Now, the driver who is probably loving this, Billy Bob Wright, the Floridian, is now up onto the podium, having started this race in 6th. The timing and scoring isn't going to be showing it quite yet because Engelhuis took a tow, so we're waiting for that to catch up, as that just screws it up momentarily. But wow, Billy Bob Wright inherits 3 places and now a 4th.
Especially in looking at the championship battle, Billy Bob is P7 at the moment, so this will be huge for his championship aspirations, as he'll be making a lot of points up on his nearest rivals like Tommy and Hola and Benjamin Soko with P3.
Now you see it updating, getting him up into the top 3 spots. Now, his hope of trying to run down Mick Claridge, oh, never mind, actually he does have a hope of trying to run down Mick Claridge because he's only 1 second behind. Claridge tried to give the spot back to Engelhuis before it became clear that he was damaged.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
I'd be curious to see if Mick Claridge actually has damage, because the contact between the 2 drivers hurted Engelhuis obviously really much. His car was crabbing immediately, but Mick Claridge hit him quite hard with his left front suspension, so it might be that Mick Claridge is also suffering from a little bit of like less good handling. As you see that Billy Bob is edging ever closer there in the hairpin. He's getting really close. The gap only to a few tenths now. Mick Claridge certainly doesn't have the pace like he had earlier this race, Joe.
I wonder if we could get a roll bar shot on top of Mick Claridge, because I know that you can sometimes see a difference between the 2 suspension. It looks like we don't have one that is completely smack in the middle. Taking a look at that one, it looks a little bit bent up. Let's see if we can get a view. Oh, here we go. Now it would be his left, our viewer's right, but it's the right side actually that looks a little bit more squished from this angle. This might be just the camera shot though. So I guess we won't really get a good idea of whether or not he's got serious damage until we see Billy Bob Wright make an attack, because he has closed up. And I know you've spotted a battle a little bit farther down. I'm not sure if we should go to that, Johan, or if it's worth staying on these 2.
Stay on these 2 for now, but I just want to give a quick update. Over Trangerate got past Matt Wright, and with the retirement of Engelhuis, he made up 2 positions. He's back in P6 at the moment. And Neil Kemp, that's actually the battle that I had in mind, has closed the gap all the way up to Matt Wright. He's putting heavy pressure on the on Wright for P7 at the moment. But Richard Morin isn't that far behind.
Here we see a little glance at what's going on farther down the field. Now, hard charger so far, actually, is Michael Morrison. He started 9th, and he is in 4th today.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that Morrison is a little bit of the same boat as Billy Bob, Joe. I think that both drivers have just been clean. 100%, that's it. They have been clean. They haven't lost positions, haven't made mistakes, and really just profited from all those other people touching each other, retiring the car, spinning around, whatever. And yeah, because of that, he made up 5 positions so far. Really good drive from Michael Morrison by just keeping it clean, keeping focused, and not making any mistakes out there.
Even though it's a week out, he's still in the Easter spirit, it looks like, from his paint scheme. But as scrambled as the order is, it has been exciting out here. And the question is, can Billy Bob Wright keep that intensity up as he continues to hound Mick Claridge? I think this tells me that Claridge is damaged because Billy Bob has not dropped off at this point, and we're used to Mick being a lot faster than the Floridian. So I think he's struggling.
That is true.
Whoa! Sorry, he was sliding his way through the Moss S there.
Mick Claridge is having a little bit of an oversteer moment there in the hairpin, and that causes Billy Bob to catch up a little bit again. But what I wanted to say is that Mick Claridge, you're absolutely right, he isn't as quick as he's normally, but he still won 2/10 on Billy Bob last time around, so it seems like he might have a little bit more speed, but it's obvious that Mick Claridge's handling isn't what it's supposed to be.
That's allowed Billy Bob to close into the rear. Now they're coming up on traffic, Simone Poncri. I'm hearing that Matt Wright has had an issue, and he's off track. Oh, no.
Matt Wright was in that battle, of course, with Neil Kemp. Just on the exit of the hairpin, he put, as you can see now on the onboard, a little bit too much throttle. The car went loose, and he just couldn't catch it anymore and slams the wall hard.
Oof,
and he took a toe.
Yep, he has called it a day. A number of drivers really have come on in.
I just want to give a little bit of attention to Matt Wright. It's such a shame because he was up to P6 from starting P10 and also being the 13th driver iRating wise. He was doing a superb job out there, not making any mistakes compared to his rival. So shame that Matt's day ends like this, Joe, in the wall.
He is our 3rd DNF, joining Wood and Angelage, who are still in the pits. Actually, no, Wood is back out. Wood is trying to salvage what he can, being only 2 laps down. He'll get a position from Wright, at least, but he's a whole lap behind Robert Reynolds, so not sure that he's got enough time with only 2 laps left to try and gun him down. So we jump back up to our 2nd place battle. Claridge still leading Wright and Morrison. Going to run out of opportunities at this rate. Billy Bob's going to have to get a lot closer to the gearbox of the Brit if he wants to make an attack. We wondered if the slipperiness of this track would play an effect on this race, and it did. We saw some big mistakes, but it wasn't the slipperiness that cost Mick Claridge. Both times, it has been a cut course penalty that cost him, although you could argue that his mistake in a turn 1 was also very costly as well when he made contact with Angelage.
Heavy battle behind them though. Tommy Anhola and Richard Morin are battling it out. Tommy Anhola got past him in the infield section, going 1 position up back to P8. Richard Morin falling down to P9. I think that Tommy Anhola had made that move just in time because he has the speed to run away a little bit from his rival and really solidified that 8th position job.
Whoa, big mistake from Tommy coming out of the final quarter. Is he going to be able to fend off Trangrade? We have a little bit of time to watch this. I'm keeping an eye on the leader, don't worry. And unfortunately, excuse me, not Unhola and Trangrade, it is Unhola and Morin. And Morin is not able to get it inside of him. So with that, we've got to switch over to the Frenchman, Michel Dudagnon, 3rd in the championship coming into this thing. I believe with Matt Wood being all the way back in 2nd to last place. This is going to bump Michel Dudagnon past him into 2nd in the championship. And critically, it's going to take some points away from Mick Claridge as well and close the gap to the overall leader in the points. So Michel Dudagnon started it on pole. He brings it home in the same position that he started in 1st. Michel Dudagnon is your winner in round 4.
behind him for P8, a little bit further behind, while the rest of the podium finishers are coming home as well. Richard Morin found a way back past Tommy Anhola. He's back in P8 at the moment.
Claridge is going to take second. And how about Billy Bob Wright? He had to worry about the car behind as well. He keeps Michael Morrison behind him. So we jump back to that battle between actually Kemp and Trangrade are relatively close. Trangrade, decent recovery. He's still going to be disappointed having started in third, only managing 6th. Unhola keeps the Canadian of Morin behind him for 8th. Looks like we're going to get a replay of some of that battle since we missed it. Down into the hairpin. That's Unhola in the red machine on the outside. Morin dives it in deep. Oh, wow. Very close moment for the Finn. And we're hearing that maybe they actually touched.
Really hard last lap move there from Richard Morin. That's in P8 in the end.
And Morin's actually got on the chat, and he's apologized to Tommy. He says that he didn't feel like the move was completely clean on his end. So drivers here in the Lotus 49 really are gentlemen drivers generally, as they like to race clean. But we're going to take a quick break on the Global Sim Racing channel and show you all the upcoming races here on GSRC. But after that, stick around because we'll have driver interviews as well as the official results. Welcome back to Okayama, Japan. We just watched round 4 of the Lotus 49 World Cup, and things have certainly developed in the championship story because Michel Dudillon gains points on everybody taking the win today. Mick Claridge, a bit of a sloppy race for him, unfortunately, and he admitted as such after the race, talking to the other drivers. He was apologizing profusely for the contact that he had with Anglage. Claridge gets second. Billy Bob Wright is just as surprised as everybody. He was talking to the drivers about everybody in front of him taking each other out, getting him a third place. Michael Morrison kept pressure on him to the end. Still ninth to fourth. Great job for the Violet Machine. Ben Zocco, bit of a recovery for him after an early mistake, finishing in the top 5. And then Ove Trangrade has the reverse fortune as he started on the podium and then finished down in 6th. Neil Kemp, another hard charger, starting 13th, getting all the way up to 7th on the track as everybody else falls away. Richard Morin, last lap battle, but Richard didn't feel too good about getting the spot. He made a pass into the hairpin, but a little contact made him feel uneasy about accepting that 8th place over Tommy Unhola, who gets P9. And then the top 10 rounded out by Hideki Koivisto.
Yeah, outside of the top 10, the first driver, Barry West, winning 3 positions to finish in P11. The battle that we saw at the halfway point during the race between Eugenio Massa and Gary Anderson was a battle that consisted from them basically the whole race. In the end, it was only 5 tenths between them, but Eugenio Massa edged out Gary Anderson there for P12 and Gary finishing in P13. Simone Pancri finished 1 lap down in P14 in front of Robert Reynolds, who showed up and started in 17th and finished in 15th. Then there were 3 drivers who didn't make it to the end. Matt Wood, who had contact at the beginning of the race, went to the pits, even got back out on track and gained 2 positions by doing so, finishing in 16th in front of Matt Wright and Michael Engelage.
That is your finishing order, but we have some interviews to do, starting with our second place driver, Mick Claridge, who didn't seem terribly happy with his performance today, at least in regards to how it affected others. Let's start, though, with the cut course penalties that you got, Mick. The first one we caught heading through Revolver, but where did the second one happen? We didn't quite figure out where you got that one.
Oh, hi, Joe. Can you hear me all right, yeah?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, the second one wasn't a cut penalty. My shifter broke on that lap, and I was following. Who was I following? I don't know who was I following. I was just thinking about my shifter, and I went up into 3rd gear, and it just kept flashing into neutral because I'm using the H pattern. I haven't used it for ages, and I just thought, I wonder if I can use that today. What an idiot, you know. And then we had the coming together, me and Michael. And after that, it was jumping out of 5th, so I had to literally hold it into 5th and push it forward into 5th, you know, as hard as I could to keep it in 5th, and it was still jumping out. But yeah, it was what a mess.
That talk to us about the incident with and the battle, actually, really, we should say, with Engelage. You two had quite a lot of time on screen because of you being so close for P2. Was it frustrating, or did you kind of expect that he would fight you hard to keep P2?
Oh, Michael's one of the hardest guys out there, you know, and he'll fight till the end, and he'll try and fight after you've got past as well. But yeah, no, I mean, it was annoying, you know, straight from the cut penalty, you know, because I caught Michelle that lap just ever so slightly, you know, on that lap, and I saw him move, you know, to try and break the toe on the back straight, and then that's when I got the cut course. But yeah, trying to chase Michael down, I'll tell you what, it's so hard out there. It's so hot. There was no grip whatsoever. I mean, you could probably see how much the cars were moving around everywhere. But it was great. But yeah, I tried to sell him the old dummy into turn 1. And I think, I mean, from my car, it looked on me, you know, I think I understeered into him a bit there. We were sort of going for the same piece of track, I think. I think that's probably what happened there.
That's kind of what our assessment was there as we watched the replay of it. So with that, unfortunately, that means we'll lose a little bit of points, but you will retain the points lead over your main rival, the Frenchman Dudagnon. And I assume we'll see you at Phillip Island next week.
Yeah, definitely. Got some sort of setup for that place out because last season I came nowhere. So yeah, you definitely see me there.
All right, best of luck there.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That's Mick Claridge, our second place finisher today. I believe third place Billy Bob Wright has joined us and is going to be talking to Johan.
Yeah, Billy Bob, welcome. Now, the last 2 weeks you gave us a yeehaw for your great finishing positions. Now with P3, I think an even louder yeehaw is on display.
Well, I don't know about a yeehaw today, guys. I mean that was a really strange race, and I have to thank Tommy and Matt and Uwe for gifting me that third place, because I did everything I could not to get that. I put the wrong set in the car for qualifying, so I qualified about half a second slower than I should have, and then I got a cut course, and which actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because that put Matt in front of me, and then unfortunately in some ways, he got caught up with Tommy and Uwe, and that gifted me the third. But hey, a good race. This place, I wasn't sure how it was going to be in the car, but it was actually a lot of fun, a lot like Mid-Ohio in many ways, and I had a good time out there today.
It's really good to hear. Well, especially if you had all that things against you during the session today. That is a really good recovery race to finish P3 in the end. Now, one thing we heard just now from McLaren is that the track was very warm. How was it for you out there? Because you were not battling that much. You were mostly on your own, a little bit in front of Michael Morrison. Did you also feel that the track was just really warm and difficult to handle today?
Well, one of the reasons that I put the wrong set in the car is that in the practice session leading up to the race, I was running in overcast conditions at 84 Fahrenheit track temperature. And so, I went from 112 degree track temperature to 84 and overcast. And, that's a completely different car at that point. So when I got back into the session, I think we were like 119 track temperature. It was just insane when we got into the race session. And so I just threw something at it, and I got the tire pressures a little wrong, and that's why Michael knows how I race, and so he played it exactly as he should. I did everything I could to save the tires, and so I would only go as fast as I needed to keep a little gap on him, and he almost got me at the end. He always does that. I mean, the guy has got my ticket when it comes to how I run my races. So I was alone a lot, but I mean, even when I was alone behind Uwe and all those guys, it was incredibly difficult because there was so much disparity, because they were hitting each other so hard in the sense of dive bombing and 2 wide and 3 wide. It was nuts. So you never knew what your entry speeds were going to be, and I was constantly on the edge of crashing. And then at the end, Michael was coming, and Mick was struggling a little bit now that I know he had the shifter problem. So it got really nuts there at the end. So a really eventful race. I was super lucky in a lot of different ways to come home with that third place for sure.
Congratulations with it once again. Now, just real quickly, I want to look at the championship. You were P7 before today. With a P3, you're gaining a lot of points on a lot of rivals. Next, we're going to Phillip Island. What do you think you're going to do there, and also the rest of the season?
Well, I've had really good results in every car I've ever driven at Phillip Island, so I feel really good about going in there. But I'm not looking at the points this season. That last season I did that, and it took a little fun out of it. So this season I'm just trying to race people and have fun, and if the points come, they do. I don't really care about that. I'm not racing a whole lot. I've actually got a shoulder injury I'm working through, and racing this car and the 79, it's really putting a workout on my left shoulder. But we'll see. It's going to be fun at Phillips Island.
Fair enough. Well, you're getting great results so far. Get well with your shoulder soon, and congratulations out there, Billy Bob, getting P3 out there today at Okayama.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
In the meantime, Joe caught up with P9, I think. Tommy Mikael Unhola is speaking with Joe Peak.
Yeah, our favorite Finn was looking very good at the start of this race, and unfortunately, it fell apart with an incident. Tommy, we have a phrase here in the States where we say someone is fighting tooth and nail, and that's what it felt like with that battle that you were having before the contact.
Yes, it was that. It was really hard fight and really fun one until that, but sadly I was running outside lane there for a long time and didn't realize I need to slow down so much more. It was okay until that, and it just didn't turn. I had inside line and everything, and I was sure it's going to turn. So sorry over. So, but otherwise it was really good battle. With this preparation also, I didn't have a very good preparation for this race. As We were building a racing rig for a friend, and it took 3 days, and we ran out of beer 4 times, and it was pretty hard until this day, but it was good until that. Really fun thing, but I'm not happy at all as I took Uwe out there. That's not good at all.
Yeah, it's hard to feel positive after incidents like that. Now, it's not often that we see that many cars fighting that closely in that big of a pack in this series. Do you feel comfortable in those situations, or when you see something like that happen, do you get a little nervous?
No, those are actually my favorite moments. As I actually lose concentration if I'm alone. It happens very easily, and now I didn't have so good concentration. Car was beat broken, but I lose it very easily if, let's say, someone is chasing me and then he spins out, so I just kind of lose it. It brings me more adrenaline, and it's more fun to drive with others. So I'm more comfortable when driving side by side and so on.
I feel like you're one of the drivers who has made incredible progress in terms of pace since we first started covering this series. How would you assess your improvement so far, or do you feel you've improved over the past few seasons?
Yes, I have been improving. First season, especially really much. I was doing so many hours. I was around 15 to 25 hours per week on track with this car. So it was really good progress. But then last season, there was life come in way, and I missed 3 weeks there. But on good side, I think that the break gave me time to think about things, and it kind of started again with car this season, and it seems to go very well now. So I'm gonna keep practicing this and try to race other things now too. I don't know if it is for that, as I have been driving more cars now and having more fun and practicing less with 49, but it has been very good season for me, and progress has been really good. I mean, when I started, I could see front runners like half a lap or lap if I ruined my tires, and now it's few laps, and I have possibilities for podium too in big races. So I'm happy with that.
I would be too. And well, when it's not a job, having fun with it is the most important thing. Congratulations on at least recovering back up to 9th, but commiserations on, I'm sure, what you expected to be a little bit better race today.
Yes, thank you, and see you next week.
That was Tommy Unhola, 9th place finisher out there today at Okayama. With that, we're going to close up. And of course, a big thank you to Ben Zocco and the entire Lotus 49 community for bringing GSRC back again to cover this official racing of this very unique car on the service. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As we mentioned, we're going down under, a little bit of a hop and a leap over out east down to Australia. That'll be at Phillip Island, Saturday, April 14th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.